On today's episode of the Real Recovery Podcast, episode number 53, we are honored to welcome Darrell DuBois, a trailblazer in both the recovery and LGBTQ+ communities. Darrell's story is one of resilience, survival, and advocacy. As one of the longest surviving individuals diagnosed with AIDS in the early years of the crisis, he has faced unimaginable adversity and emerged with an unwavering spirit. An original member of the Live and Let Live Club, Darrell was instrumental in creating a safe space for LGBTQ+ individuals in recovery when few existed. With nearly 3 decades of sobriety, he shares the transformative power of recovery, the community that lifted him up, and the lessons learned along the way. His story is a testament to perseverance, hope, and the importance of telling our truths. Join us for this deeply moving conversation on courage, identity, and the power of community in recovery.
Hello, and welcome to the Real Recovery Podcast. I'm Julie, your co-host. On this journey of healing and transformation, together with my co-host Peter, we dive into the heart of recovery, sharing stories that resonate with courage and inspiration.
That's right, Julie. Each episode is a new chapter in this vast narrative of recovery, and we're honored to bring them to you. But keep in mind, the perspectives you'll hear are for informational purposes only and may not reflect the views of the podcast or our partners.
Indeed, while these conversations can be a powerful part of your recovery toolkit, they are not substitute for professional medical advice. We encourage you to seek guidance from your healthcare provider for any treatment-related decisions.
And if you're facing an immediate crisis, or if you just need to talk to someone who understands, don't hesitate to call the Recovery Crisis Line at 503-223-8569. The number is also on our website. Help is available 24/7.
Now let's begin our episode
of recovery, real recovery.
Hi, this is Julie from the Real Recovery Podcast.
And this is Peter.
And we are here with my longtime friend, Darrell. And Darrell, just so you know, there's no wrong or right on this podcast.
Okay.
If you want to fucking swear, you can swear.
Oh, okay.
We have an explicit tag, so no one's going to be shocked.
Okay.
So I want to tell people about you a little bit. When I was going to my second meeting ever, the first one I went to was a fiasco. It was NA. It was in Beaverton by the Dairy Queen. And I went in and there was somebody high there and I could tell instantly. And I left and I never went back. The next day I went to the church and I only knew about the meeting there because I had taken my friend Teresa there when she was pregnant, trying to get her to not do drugs while she was pregnant. So I went up to the library. That's when the meeting was upstairs in the library. And for our listeners, I've known Darrell since my very first meeting.
Yeah.
And you've been sober?
I've been sober almost 28 years, so
People
it's a
who
long
are
time.
Along, no.
Right.
But that's a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
And to share your story.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and I'm excited Megan got it all arranged. I'm so happy.
Yeah, me too.
So you want to tell us about the start? I know your start was far down in Oregon.
Yeah, down in Klamath Falls. I was born and raised in Klamath Falls. And at age 16, I was madly in love. And so we decided that the best thing to do was to come out about that instead of getting caught, because we were spending nights at each other's houses and we were doing activity. And so we decided that it would be best to just tell them and not get caught at it, because that feels dirty somehow. So we both did that on the same Sunday morning. And my mother's reaction was, "Oh my God, Darrell, he's not Catholic." My father's reaction was, boom. His right hand moved incredibly quickly and connected with my left jaw, knocked me out of my chair.
Wow.
Broke my jaw. Then he reached down, picked me up, threw me out the door and said, "You can go be that way, somebody else." And all of a sudden at age 16, I found myself homeless in Klamath Falls, Oregon in the middle of November. It's cold. It's real cold. And all I had on was the clothes that I'd been wearing. And I freaked out. So I did what every good Catholic boy does. I went to the church and went to talk to the priest. The priest said, "You're lucky you didn't do more. You deserved it."
Wow.
So that was real supportive.
I didn't know that part.
So I left there and headed for Highway 97 and stuck my thumb out and hitchhiked up to Eugene. I had some friends living in Eugene. They were going to school at the University of Oregon, and they were living in a house together. And I figured that, and one of them was the brother of the man I was in love with.
What happened to him? Did he get thrown out too? Or?
No, his parents were a little more reasonable about it. They weren't happy, but at least they didn't overreact that way.
Yeah.
And in fact, a year later, he moved up with me.
For our listeners, what year was that when you were 16?
1968.
So I was 3 years old. Okay. And I understand back then it wasn't as acceptable as it is now.
Not at all.
Yes.
And the Catholic Church, you already know. Yeah. I went to Catholic school.
Okay. My parents were so liberal. In the 50s, they were having mixed race dinner parties, which was just a big no. And they were doing that kind of stuff. And so I felt reasonably safe in doing what I was doing. I just forgot that church thing. Whoops, big forget part. So yeah, that's what happened. And then later that year, I went to trial, and the church called me to trial, and they ended up excommunicating me, and they also, they also shunned me. And when they shun your church, everybody has to follow that, including your family members.
I have never heard of that.
Yeah. It's hard duty.
Wow.
And
So that led you to Eugene. And what happened in Eugene?
what happened in Eugene was Rod and Dave were going to go to the University of Oregon. There was a bulletin board there at the student union. They came home one day. They were just really excited and said, Darrell, look at this. This is perfect for you. One was a couple that had a young gay son who was moving down to San Jose to go to college. And they were offering his room to another gay man who was needing a supportive environment. And what they had in mind was someone going to college. And when I called and talked to them, their heart fell open to me. And they called my parents and said, what we're going to do is we're going to help him become an emancipated minor.
Wow.
Okay.
And that's what we did. We went about the formal legal machinations for me to become a
Emancipated from your
emancipated minor.
Yeah.
That way they couldn't come back against the people that I was living with. And that was important.
And probably made your parents feel better because then they are removed from any financial responsibility, which is a shitty deal, but okay.
Yeah, but that's the way it is. They took me out of the will, which means I lost out on about 1,200 acres of land, which would have been mine. And my sister, who refused to go along with the shutting, said, what are you talking about? He's still my brother. And so she got kicked out of the will too.
Oh my gosh.
Because
it's so hard to believe it's like a fictional movie. You know, when I hear this. And it's
this is real life.
Yeah.
This is real life.
Your real life.
Back then. And it was scary. It was really scary. But we all lived through it and we all survived. And later, after my mom died, I took my mother's death to hit my father that, oh my God, he hadn't seen his mother in over 20 years. I don't want that to happen with us. So he called my sister and said, wherever Darrell is, tell him to come home. He can stay here. And we want him here for the funeral. So she called and I said, sure, I'll come home. And that was the first time I'd seen Dad in 26 years.
That was nice of you.
Yeah, it was nice of him.
Yeah.
It was a big opening of his heart. So I didn't want to turn it down. So I went. I had to borrow money for the airfare.
Wow.
But I went ahead and went. And I was in Middleburg, Virginia at the time. So it was a fairly large expense. But it worked out really well. Because after that, my dad and I actually became friends. And we would travel together. And we saw lots of live music together. He loved music too.
Wow.
And so we traveled a lot, saw a lot of really good music, and enjoyed that.
Were you in AA then?
He was still drinking on a daily basis.
He was?
Oh, yeah.
So your dad was an alcoholic?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's hereditary.
Yeah, he
and
died
to the boy,
age,
twice as much.
He died at age 86 and was still a daily drunk.
Wow.
And lived to be 86 years old. His liver finally gave out.
At 86, man.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
That's a long life.
That is.
Yeah, that was cool. That long. But he was still every day a daily drunk.
Wow.
He was maintenance drinker.
Functional.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very functional. Anyway, that was that part of my life.
So you repaired your relationship with your father, but you still were out of the will and shunned from the church and so forth.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a crazy, seems like a double standard to me.
Oh, it was. It was.
Like, I can love you, but only this much.
Yeah, that's some bullshit.
I was happy that he could love me as much as he did. That was pretty cool.
Good for the heart, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one wants to think or have the guy that broke their jaw, which, like I said, that's some forgiveness on your part. Amen. I'd probably want to break the jaw back. I'm just that bitch. I'm serious. I did want to get my mom back a little bit. I gave it to her as much as she gave it to me. So I know how you got to Portland, but tell our listeners how you got to Portland, how you got a little drunk.
Yeah.
And how you made it to the famous Live and Let Live Club, especially the first one.
Yeah. How that happened was I was living in Middleburg Park, Virginia with my partner, Steve. He was the man that we
the
came
same
out
guy
together.
from 16?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And we were both, he was working for me and I was working for Paul Mullen. I was showing his show horses, and off season I was breeding for him. Anyway, that was all lots of fun and crazy. But
you breeded horses?
Huh?
Wow.
Big thoroughbreds. It was fun.
Fun. Wow.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden he was diagnosed with leukemia. And 12 months later, he was gone.
Wow.
And I freaked out. I just freaked out. Because at that point in time, he was the only real friend I'd ever had.
Yeah.
The real friend I had at that point, too. And when he died, I just fell apart. My drinking probably quadrupled. And I started firing heroin. So that's how that got started.
How do you get to alcohol to heroin?
It's pretty simple.
Explain that to me.
How it happened for me was I was partying a lot. And finally at one party, the guy brought in a bag of heroin and asked me if I wanted to try it. And I said, sure. What does it do? And he says, it just makes you numb. I said, oh, yeah, that's definitely what I want.
Which is what drinking does as well.
Yeah, not as good as heroin.
Believe it or not, I've never done heroin.
Oh, wow.
I got saved on that part. So, yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's a really good thing.
I asked to do it, and the person said no. And so I got high on meth instead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's any better, but
back
whatever.
then, there was no fentanyl.
Right.
And people weren't overdosing on meth.
Mm-hmm.
I just lost a bunch of weight. It was,
Yeah.
It was the Ozempic of my time.
Yeah, but heroin, a lot of people don't come back from that. So to be a heroin survivor, that's quite
well, that happened was I moved from Middleburg. I moved to New York City.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I wanted to change my life. I wanted to have nothing to do with my past life, make a new life.
Klamath Falls to New York City, though.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's quite the change. So I moved to New York. And I figured I probably didn't want to work too hard or too much. So I got a job. I was very fortunate. I got a job with a top-notch Esquire unit. That's a fancy way of saying whore.
So you were in the entertainment business like I was.
Yeah, so I was in the entertainment business, yes.
And is Esquire an escort service or is it prostitution?
No, it's an escort service.
Oh, my God.
But it's prostitution. Right.
Oh, I know.
At the core, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So they'd call and you would go.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. That was part of my life and part of my story.
Holy shit.
That continued until I moved from New York to San Francisco. Wonderful geographic again. And lived in San Francisco for a couple of years and got sick and tired of being there because I was so sick and tired. And moved to Portland.
You went from, to be honest with you, New York, then San Francisco, then Portland. You hit the 3 biggest gay per square foot places. People don't realize per square foot that Portland is like right up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And New York, and it's not San Francisco. Like people would think it's San Francisco, but it's not.
Right.
Wow. You hit them all.
Yeah, I hit them all and managed to get AIDS in the process. But I really believe that my AIDS infection didn't come from sex. I really believe it came from sharing needles. because
I believe you.
I was part of a shooting gallery in Newark, New Jersey. And we'd have 50, 75 people on the same needle.
Oh, wow.
And we were not using bleach or anything else. We were just...
Well, and you know what I think of when I think of that? So I've never shared a needle. Okay. I was actually quite schizophrenic about it. Okay. My OCD was right there. And the other thing was, I was very hard for me to do it. So I had to have a brand new needle. And I would even mix dope with a different needle than I shot up with. And then I'd have to have the ultra fine one, right? It was like a fucking process for me. Yeah. So a shooting gallery. Wow.
Yeah.
Never heard of such a thing.
At that time, it was illegal to own a needle. You couldn't go to the store and buy one.
So I said I was diabetic, and I went to Good Sam in Northwest Portland, and I'd buy them by the case, 1,200 of them at one time.
Wow.
And in 86, I think that was my highest year when Barry got sober. That's when the needle exchange program came at the outside in as well.
Yes.
So
I actually got off heroin. I hit Portland, and I was still drinking really heavily. And just got tired of seeing my face in his courtroom. And after 3 times, he said, boy, I'm going to give you a choice to make. And you got 2 minutes to make it in. You can either go to damage for a year, or you can go to treatment for alcoholism.
Oh, is that when it had alcoholism treatment? Okay.
So they didn't approve of AA. They didn't recognize that as any kind of treatment. So what they did was they sent you to Raleigh Hills Hospital. Raleigh Hills Hospital was better known as the Puke Palace. And what they did for treatment was they gave you 3 injections. The first one closed off the caloric valve to the stomach. And once that closes off, nothing passes through the stomach. The stomach just becomes this huge balloon and maintains everything that's put in it. The second drug they gave you was like Epicac, only stronger. And the third drug they give you, as far as I can figure out, they just gave out sheer meanness. And what it did was drop your body temperature about 10 degrees in about 2 minutes and give you horrible chills and sweats like you wouldn't believe.
Goodness.
And then they gave you a 10-ounce glass of 98.6 degree salt water that you had to drink. Then after that, they started giving you booze. And you would drink and puke and drink and puke and drink and puke. And I did that for 90 days. During that 90 days, I got cold turkey off of heroin because they were giving me nothing for heroin. So I cold turkeyed off of heroin while doing alcohol treatment.
Which is hard because heroin changes the chemical imbalance in your brain.
It does.
For our listeners, not a lot of drugs do. I don't know what fentanyl, it's out of my realm, but it does because that's why your body, when you're coming off of it, hurts. It hurts
like hell.
It hurts to touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going through cold turkey heroin withdrawal while I was in this puke.
Well, if you're puking anyway,
might as well.
But that's such a crazy way to get off of alcohol.
Yeah.
That procedure. Wow. That's
it might make you sick of it.
Their aftercare program was, if you think you're going to drink, you can come back here for free. We'll do this for the rest of your life. If you think you're going to drink, just come up here and we'll make you sick some more. And then you won't want to drink.
Yeah.
I did that for about 6 months and decided I couldn't do that for the rest of my life. That was just too much.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go back to drinking and using. So I decided what the best thing to do is to kill myself.
Oh.
So I went downtown and I bought enough heroin to kill 2 people, figuring that'd be enough to kill me. And I was getting ready to do that when I walked into Al, who used to be my favorite bartender.
He's everybody's fucking bartender. I swear to God, Barry's.
It's true.
Yeah.
And by that time, he'd gotten clean and sober and was doing recovery. So he said, Darrell, I have a solution if you want to take it. And I said, what's that? And he said, I'm on to an AA meeting. You want to go?
This is
I didn't know this.
So I said,
I think I know everything.
I said, okay, yeah, sure. Thinking I'd kill myself after the meeting, right? But I heard something at the meeting. I heard 3 things at the meeting that made me want to keep coming back. I heard, you're welcome here. Fuck, nobody said that to me in years. You're welcome here.
Yeah.
Keep coming back. What the hell does that mean? And the other thing I heard was, if you think you want a drink, come here. And that was at the old Scully's Club.
Was Doug there?
Yeah.
You're welcome, you're wanted, and you're needed.
Mm-hmm. That's what I heard. And that was enough to keep me coming back.
Holy shit.
So that's how that all worked out. Was thank you, Al.
And Al he's referring to is Al H. That's on the episode that precedes your episode here.
Just so you know,
just so our listeners
Al's
know.
podcast drops this Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's our 52nd episode. So we celebrate 1 year with his episode. We haven't missed a Friday.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So yeah, that's how that happened. Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah. I got to take him at a meeting once. And that was a real wonderful thing for me.
I'm hooking you, Larry, and Al back up, so don't worry.
Yeah, that was a real special meeting for me. I got to thank him and tell that part of my story. So that really felt good.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. And Al's such a smart ass. It's my favorite thing about him. Wow.
I've heard Scully's. I've never been, but I've heard.
Oh my God, Peter.
War stories.
Oh, yeah.
That it's pretty intense place.
It's pretty intense.
Intense isn't the word.
Yeah.
It is fucking scary. I went there one time and I was scared shitless. And I heard Todd talk about it. TOD with one D.
Mm-hmm.
I heard Todd talk about it. And so I was curious and satisfied my curiosity
Real quick.
real quick.
Well, tell me a little bit about that. I'm interested.
I got to stick around Scully's for a while. I've been there for a week. This guy walked up to me after the meeting and said, "You got a sponsor yet?" I said, "No." And he says, "My name's Stephen T. and I'm your sponsor."
Okay.
Okay. He says, "This is the way it works. I own my own business. You're going to go to work for me. We'll leave your house at 7 o'clock in the morning. We'll go to work. We'll stay there till 11:30 in the morning. We'll go to the noon meeting. Then we'll come back here, go to work. You'll stay here till 5 o'clock, and then we'll go to 5:30 meeting. Then after that, we'll go eat dinner, and then we'll go to 7 o'clock meeting, and then I'll take you home."
Shut the hell up.
I'm serious.
No, I just think
That's intense.
that is the best structure, though,
Mm-hmm.
a recovering alcoholic and heroin addict could ask for.
Yeah. And that's what I needed was structure. God knows I didn't know.
Can I tell you, me too? I don't know how it worked this way. Okay. But my daughter she was 4 when I got sober, but she went to kindergarten right after. And she went from 8 to 11, right? They had it in 2 sections. She went from 8 to 11. I picked her up. I took her to daycare or my mother's. Then I went to the 12 o'clock. Then we got out at 1 and I had just enough time to get to work. And I worked from 2 to 10. And then I picked her up. And I did that every fucking day. And it was the structure. And then when I had a really hard time when we got to the weekends. And the meeting upstairs was only Monday through Friday until I had a fucking breakdown. And I was like, I can't. The weekends are so hard. And they're like, okay, we'll do the weekends. They felt sorry for me. Crazy.
You and a lot of other folks.
Yeah. No, I'm going to tell you, at that time, it was me, Todd, Fred, Grant, and there was only 5 of us at first because they'd be like, okay, we got about 10 minutes each. Get talking.
Right.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Those are some names I haven't heard for a while. Fred. Wow. I thought about Fred in a long time.
It was just his birthday. I have this ring that he gave me, and guess who gave it to him? Remember James?
Mm-hmm.
James gave it to him when he died, and Fred left it for me. So I wear it every day. He was my sponsor for 23 years. I got turned down twice. He finally felt sorry for me. I'm just saying, yeah. I got turned down by the best of them, though. I got turned down by, remember Ken that wore the leather? I got turned by Ken. He said he had way too many sponsees, and I thought it was because I was the only girl. And then I asked Angela, because here's another woman. And when she said, I don't sponsor, but I'll help you. And I did my fifth step with her. And then when Fred had a year, because he was just ahead of me, like a year, I said, will you be my sponsor? And he was going to meet his son for the very first time at 77 years old. And he said, Julie, I can't think nothing but this visit. If it goes well, yeah, when I get back. And so I prayed every day while he was gone that the visit went well, because I was selfish and I just wanted him to not to get turned down a third time. But the visit went well and he came home and he was my sponsor.
Wow.
Third time.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah. So
great.
Tell me, did you go to the Live and Let Live Club or did you go to straight meetings?
No, to the Live and Let Club. Just as soon as we got established. In
The one on Ankeny?
2717 Southeast Ankeny.
Oh my God, you know the address. Shut the front door.
How could you forget? So much happened there.
Teen. Wow. Couple sevens there. Good luck.
Yeah. How could you not remember them? It's just such an important
I never
part
went
of my
to
life.
that one.
That's right, you didn't.
I went to...
You went to the church.
No. So I went to one AA meeting around that 1986, 87 time. And there was this girl that I went to the meeting to see. And I couldn't believe how good she looked. And she told me not to come to the meeting because of her, that I could only come to the meeting if I wanted to be sober. And I was sober, but I didn't want to be sober. So, yeah, so I didn't go back. But that was the one on Belmont.
Yeah.
So I never went to the Ankeny one. Barry seems to love that one.
I think all of us that were part of it did.
Yeah. And is it still going there?
No,
it's gone.
No, it's
The
gone.
Live and Let Club, they sold the building and it no longer exists. I would say we're the closest to that, the MCC meeting. That's when the MCC meeting started at MCC. And that meeting was there for 24 years.
Yeah.
Until we went to Sunnyside.
Okay. I'm curious how Scully's then developed, how your time went there. You were kept busy all day.
Yeah.
And then how you ended up, I guess you were a founding member of the Live and Let Live?
Almost.
Yeah.
Pretty close. John. Did you ever meet John from New York?
No.
He'd actually gone to meetings with Phil Wilson.
Wow.
Yeah. Old timer. Wonderful man. Fell in love with him, actually. Didn't do any good, but didn't do any bad either. Yeah. So that's how that happened. And still warms my heart to think about that. There were a lot of special moments that happened there.
That Larry and Al were talking about how everything was celebrated there. Birthday celebrations were huge, which we don't do enough of now.
Right.
We do, but we don't. Yeah. And it was the same at MCC. I can't tell you how many cakes I picked up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you what Steffi loves. The buttercream white cake with the raspberry filling and Pat O.D. too. And Fred. Yeah, that was their cake.
So when you were started on your journey, did you just stay sober or did you have some ups and downs? Or
I stayed sober.
You did. Very good.
Yeah.
What year did you? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was saying you had that foundation with your full day working with Steve, was it? And then going to meetings. And that continued on
for about a year.
And then how did that transition then into the Live and Let Live?
Yeah. I told Stephen I needed to do some meetings with my own people. Because how could I not tell my own story? Because we weren't allowed to do that at Scully's. We didn't talk about that.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, you don't talk about that. And I said, how can I be in recovery and only tell half my story? How can I be healthy and only tell half my story? I need to be with my people and be able to talk about who I am.
That's how I was. I got sober at ECAC, but very conservative, didn't feel comfortable being honest about myself. And so it wasn't until the lunch bunch that I felt, hey, I can really be me. And part of my drinking was to hide who I was, and I didn't want to do that anymore. Right. So why could going to ECAC not being able to be fully open and honest, it wasn't going to work for me. Right. So thank God I found the lunch bunch.
Me too, but it was so different. I'm fresh out of prison from going to prison from the escort service. And the gay men's meeting, which it was at that time. There was no girls.
Mhm.
And talk about the right place. I knew none of you wanted to sleep with me.
Right.
And I didn't want to sleep with you. And if you could accept me for being an ex-con, right? Being a prostitute, entertainer, whatever you want to say, and still want me there. You knew my shit and you still wanted me. Who could ask for more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they established, sounds like the live and let live, so that you could be open and
Mhm.
share your full
Right.
who you are. Yeah.
Share who we really are.
Yeah.
Because I personally don't believe I could stay sober,
Right.
hiding half of who I am.
Me too.
I don't think I could maintain sobriety doing that. It's too
For our
important.
listeners' sake, you've had AIDS since what year?
I was diagnosed with AIDS May 3rd of 1984.
So 1984. We are now in 2024. So 94, 2004, 2014, 42 years.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I met you when you were getting different medicines. I'll tell you which boyfriend you had when I met you. He was tall, he was blonde, and had a mustache. And I remember him. He would bring you to the meetings. You know
His
which one
name
I'm
was
talking
Larry.
about?
Yeah, his name was Larry.
Yeah. So I remember him. Huh?
We ended up staying together for 28 years.
Yeah. Like I said,
Wow.
I remember
That's
him.
awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm celebrating 25 this year with my husband.
Good.
He's got a very nice one.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been through the thick and thin. So
Another thing, some meetings are good. Some meetings are great. Some are even better. Okay. I say some are 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, whatever. When I have you, Scott C, and Al or whatever, all in a meeting at the same time, those are like 5-star meetings for me. But the best meeting, and we've talked about this before, that I've ever been to, like top 3, was at our house. We couldn't have the meeting at the church for some reason that day. And Darrell invited us over to our house. And it was beautiful. It was like 75. It wasn't hot. It wasn't cold. I don't know who made them, but somebody made big ass, thick ass brownies. And it was me, Darrell, Todd, DJ. Remember Crazy DJ?
Oh, yeah, I remember DJ.
Oh my God. And
she wanted
me.
to be my sponsor.
Yeah. Mine too. No way. And me on this patio. And it was just perfect. And I can't tell you everything that was discussed at that meeting, but it was like one of the best meetings, the most perfect meeting I've ever been to with just the 5 of us.
Mhm.
And the brownies were fabulous.
Pat Schweibert made those brownies.
Who?
Pat Schweibert.
Oh,
from
wow.
the Peace House.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, she made those and said, Darrell, share these with your friends.
Yeah.
So I did.
Yep. And we sat on there and we must have sat out there for 2 hours and just talking. And it really was like, I took Fred home after that meeting and we talked about it the whole time. And it was such a good meeting.
It was.
It was.
And that actually started the tradition of having meetings there.
Really?
Yeah, we ended up having weekly meetings there.
I didn't know
on
that.
Thursday at noon.
It was Thursday.
Yeah.
Shut the hell up. Wow.
I'm curious to hear more about the live and let live and that time. It's being that it's like a precursor to the meetings that I go to now.
It had its rules that you were expected to go by. There weren't a lot of them, but the ones that were there were pretty important. We didn't crosstalk, and it was real important. What were some of the others?
I know smoking was still big then.
Oh, yeah, we smoked all the way through the meetings.
And those who didn't smoke, smoked anyways.
Smoked anyway. Yeah, they smoked right along with us.
Yeah, because the meeting I went to, holy shit. Yeah.
And you slice the air with scissors. It was so thick. Yeah. I was still smoking then. Yeah, I was still smoking then.
Really?
I didn't quit until September of 91, and I got the house.
I quit I had quit. Then I smoked 2 for my 5th step. Because if Angela was going to smoke, I was going to fucking smoke too. So I went in and bought a pack. I smoked 2 and I threw the pack away. They were cheaper then. And at the Village Inn on Broadway, that's where I did my fist up with Angela.
Wow.
2 days in a row. And do you remember the Texas 4-step?
Yeah.
Okay, my car got broken into in front of the church and they took my 4-step and my Christmas cards. And I was so upset because I had just written out all these Christmas cards and I had been working on the Hazelton version because I still didn't have a sponsor of the 4-step. And then Kenny came in and said, how about doing the Texas 4-step? And it was like this big. And it took me months. I worked on it every night at the escort service, not the escort service, the answering service. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. No, I worked on it at the answering service, like from 9 to 10 when it slowed down. I'm sitting there writing and writing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Smoking.
I did my 5th step. I was so frightened that I did my first 5th step in a Catholic church with a priest.
So did my friend.
Wow.
The grotto. When you could just go see the priests because they were there all the time. He didn't want anybody to know all of his business. And so he took it to the priest and had to wear a heart monitor while he did it because he was so stressed out about it.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. I did mine to Angela and she's, I don't know anything about this drug shit, basically.
Yeah.
She stopped me a third through it and told me, I can't believe anybody made you do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never heard about it ever again. Yeah.
What are some of your fond memories of the Live and Let Live in that time? And what are some of the things maybe that you can share that would resonate with our listeners who are on their path?
I remember John's birthday party. He was turned, I believe, 48 years old, 48 years of sobriety. And I remember the party we had for him because it was huge and it was loud. And it wasn't a meeting. Really, we didn't have much of a meeting. We opened the meeting with the prayer, closed the meeting with the prayer. The 7th tradition, but I don't think we did very much else meeting stuff. We pretty much partied.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was awesome. It really was.
Because we are at a glum lot, right?
Right.
And that's something that
Who
I
was
think
your
we need to-
sponsor after this Steve T guy? Your first one, just out of curiosity.
My next sponsor who was my next sponsor after that? Oh, I remember, was Richard Moody.
I don't think I know him.
He sang in the Portland Gavins course. That's how I first met him.
Oh, wow.
It was through the course. And then we found out we were each in the program, and I asked him to sponsor me, and he said yes.
Cool. Very cool.
Good man. I miss him. He passed away not too long ago.
I'm trying to think if I know, but I don't. At least it's not on the top of my head. But we've lost a lot of people from MCC.
Yeah, we have.
A ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the really intense things about the AIDS epidemic for me, was the number of friends that I lost.
That's what Barry says.
Yeah.
Barry says it was a big deal then to have 5 years sober. And it was even a bigger deal to die sober with AIDS. And they lost, he said, hundreds of friends. Yeah.
We lost 101 men just out of the Portland Gavins course.
Wow.
That had an impact. Had a real impact.
I was going to the city nightclub when it was the highest volume and before they had gotten medicine. And Rosie Waters would be down there and Lady Elaine Peacock. And we lost all of them.
Yeah.
And that's when it really started to hit me. And I think it's why I was a schizo about, I saw people get sick and just get really sick.
Yeah.
A lot of good people.
Yeah, there were a lot of good people. And that was part of the way we dealt with that. We didn't abandon them. We didn't run away from them. And thank God for the lesbians, because they took care of us.
That's what Barry says too.
We were gay men's worst nightmare come true. We were right in their face. And they didn't like that very much. And it was the lesbians that took care of us. I swear to God, had it not been for the lesbians, we'd all been dead.
That's amazing. When I met my sponsor, he was growing weed for our house so that the guys would eat. He never smoked it, but he was a professional gardener.
Mhm.
And he would bring over bags of it and it would help them eat. Yeah.
And sleep.
Yeah. This is, again, before there was medicine.
Mhm.
But yeah, now we know that helps with cancer patients. Yeah.
For those who don't know, our house, can you talk a little bit about
Yeah, our house is where I live now. I've been living there for over 6 years. Our house was a hospice unit, and it was the only AIDS hospice unit in town. And they took us all, and they loved us till we were gone, and they loved us still. And then they immediately filled your bed with somebody else. That's the way it was. There was a waiting list there for years and years. There was a waiting list there. And it was just because people stopped dying as quickly.
Yeah.
They started introducing meds and we started living a little bit longer. We're still dying, but we're still living a little bit longer. Anyway, that all changed and it's no longer a hospice unit. Since I've been there this last time, I think we've lost 22 patients in the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you met Miriam?
Mm-hmm. She was living there then. And I was going in to visit.
Wow. So when I met you, you were at our house
Mm-hmm.
and then you left there?
Yeah. I got well enough to go out independently.
How cool is that?
Oh, it was great. I did that for 2.5 years. And then I fell off the treadmill and had to go back to our house again.
At least you had a place to go.
That's right. Thank God I did.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God they took me in.
Yeah. What I also find really incredible is you maintained your sobriety all that time where
Oh, yeah.
when we're thrown some hardballs, it's easier for us to slip and
I thank God for recovery saving my life.
yeah.
Because had it not been for recovery, I know I would not be alive today. I'd have been dead a long time ago. If not from AIDS, from drinking and using.
And it shows that you're part of the No Matter What Club,
Mhm.
which is my favorite club.
Right.
Because I've been through some shit in recovery, way
Mhm.
more shit than I did when I was using,
Mhm.
by far. Okay, quadruple billion times. But I know that no matter what, it's better to stay. It's
Mhm.
easier to stay
Oh, yeah.
than to go out. It might help you for a minute, let you forget your troubles for a minute, but that's all. It'll just make things worse.
For sure. Yeah, I think in the early days of my recovery, that's the only thing that kept me clean sober was going to meetings. And I wasn't real popular at meetings because I chose to talk about it almost immediately. And I scared the shit out of people. What are you talking about that for? Can't you talk about that somewhere else? No, I talk about it at meetings because that's where I have to talk about it.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't get it. I didn't care.
No,
No, I think that's fair.
and that's, I think, what's so important is that's what these meetings are for. They're safe. They're a safe place. And for you to be open, fully open and honest, which is important to my sobriety. That's why finding the lunch bunch was so wonderful because I could be that person. And that's the only thing I think that saved me because I was dipping in and out up until that point. And I know in part it was not being able to fully be myself and not being able to relate fully to other people. At the meetings we go to now, the people I'm with now, I can tell them, oh, this is how I'm feeling, or talk about a past experience. And they're like, get it. I get it right there because they've been there too. And they've had same experiences. And that's so important to me.
My son is getting sober now for about 2.5 years.
How'd you get a son, Daryl?
Oh, you want to hear that
Wow.
story?
I'm just saying,
How did I
how'd you
get a
get a
son?
fucking son?
Okay, how I got a son was I had this wonderful friend. We're still wonderful friends. She's a lesbian. And she had a daughter from a former marriage that ended in a horrible way. He found out that she was bisexual. He beat the shit out of her. He beat her till she had to go and stay in the hospital.
Oh, for God's sakes.
And then Heidi was born and he split. He said, that's not my child. And split. And she was looking for someone to be a father to another child. So I said, let's talk about that. She was just looking for a sperm donor.
I have to ask. Okay, I know we have all these advanced fertility things now, but did you do it or did you just give sperm?
No, we didn't have sex.
Okay.
We used artificial insemination.
Wow.
She was an OBGYN nurse. And so we used artificial insemination the first time it worked. Thank God.
Shut the hell up.
Yeah, we were lucky. First time off, it worked. And then half months later, Jeff was born.
You know what? So you're a pioneer in Klamath Falls, right? Coming out. Okay. You're a pioneer going to AA and Scully's. Okay. That right there takes courage. Okay. You get AIDS. I can't imagine how many medicines you tried, right? Have a child that way, which back then was not easy.
No, it wasn't.
Oh my God.
We got shit from the gay community. We got shit from the lesbian community. We got shit from the straight community.
And now it's just normal.
And now it's just normal.
Just let me freeze my eggs. I want to have a baby later. Get a little sperm on the side.
Right,
Yeah.
This was 1976. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
See, Jeff was 3.5 years old when I got clean and sober.
Wow.
So he doesn't remember me as being this drunken, spaced out fool at all.
Yeah, my daughter was 4.
Yeah, he just remembers me the way I am now. And he's now got 2.5 years clean and sober.
I remember when you were going through it with him.
Yeah, for sure. And
You know why we get that back, right? Okay. My daughter has 9 months sober tomorrow. But I didn't have to go through it that much, thank God. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how that came about. And Jackie and her are still great friends. She lives up in Yelm, Washington now.
Wow.
She has a wonderful partner, and they're living up there, being very happy. They're living in a gated community that's consists of entirely women.
Oh, wow.
And it's a very safe place, and it's a very happy community. They've been living there for like 12 years now, I think.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it is. It meets their needs really well.
That's cool.
And you currently have a good relationship with your son.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's so
That's
cool.
not always been true.
You're like a mentor for me. I remember years back, but I had a close friend, lesbian friend, and we talked about that, but we never.
I was like,
went,
do you have a child
no, I
somewhere
do not have
that
I wished I did, but it shoulda, woulda, coulda, right?
Right. Yeah. So we did that, and I can actually say for sure that it was the most positive thing I've ever done for myself.
Yeah. No doubt.
Sobriety first, because otherwise I wouldn't be a good mom. But it absolutely is the biggest blessing other than that.
Yeah, it is.
By far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have some questions because I'm just nosy. So since you knew you were gay at a very young age and came out, have you ever had sex with a woman?
No.
I just think it's really cool because me being nosy, I would have to just try it to find out. Like the fact that you were so secure with it from such a young age with all you endured, you didn't go to anybody's image. And I fucking love that. Yeah.
I didn't have any good images to go to. My parents' marriage was a disaster unit. They stayed married only because they had 7 kids. That's the only reason they stayed married.
They got divorced at 9 months.
They fought and fought. They were non-consensual. That's an M unit. They beat the shit out of each other.
Wow.
I watched my mother shatter my father's right shoulder with a cast iron skillet. 12-inch cast iron skillet. She hit that thing like it swung out like it was a baseball bat right into my dad's shoulder.
Wow.
She got tired of him beating on her. She finally said, I'm tired.
Yeah.
So you have 6 siblings?
Yes.
How are they? And did they follow the same? Did they have similar troubles or?
Yeah. Out of my 7 siblings, 6 of them are alcohol and drug affected.
Okay.
One of them is in recovery, Al-Anon recovery. She never actually started drinking, but she bore the brunt of it a lot.
Just again, being nosy, what sequence is she? My mom is the oldest of 7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And my Aunt Kathy and my Aunt Patty weren't afflicted, and my Aunt Calvin. But it seems it went to the other 4.
She's 2 years older than I am.
And what child were you?
I was 6.
So yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how you can match it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it really is. People, it's almost like a genetic disorder, breast cancer that's transferable. People do not realize how hereditary alcoholism is.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't have to be hereditary. Don't get me wrong. And it's just people also don't understand that it afflicts, because you don't have to be poor. You don't have to be rich, black, white, gay, straight. Today in Oregon, 8 people die a day from alcoholism. Only 4 die from overdoses.
Right.
Crazy. So it's still the number one offender.
Back in my family, we don't have a history of people admittedly being alcoholics, but you can look at the pattern and things that went on and pretty much know what went on.
Same here. Like, I didn't know it. I really didn't know. So I knew my grandfather drank and there was a drink at the table, but he was pretty decent to me, especially. Hated my mom. And it wasn't until I was talking with my aunt when I was getting a procedure done that she told me that he used to put himself in the hospital to get sober or whatnot, because otherwise the withdrawals would be so bad. I didn't know any of that. Yeah. And my mom stopped drinking on her own because she got Graves' disease at 55. She just stopped drinking because it messed with the medication. Yeah.
I have an uncle that I knew used to drive to the liquor store every day to get that 5th every single day and drink it and then drive his big Lincoln. Yeah. Back then the cars were so armored, just with all the steel.
By the time I got towards the end of my drinking, I wasn't drinking a 5th a day anymore. I was drinking the half gallons.
Shut up.
I'm serious. I was drinking half gallon of Jack Daniels a day.
That stuff is like gasoline.
Actually,
okay?
I prefer George Stickle, but George Stickle was hard to find around here.
My mom liked Johnny Walker. I don't know if it was red label or black label. Which one was the nice label?
The black label.
Okay, then that's the one she liked. But she was a bartender, so she didn't have any problem getting alcohol. And because she was a bartender and being paraded in bars, oh, this is Julie, and I was little and I could smell the alcohol, was why I never wanted to drink. I just couldn't stand bars. Yeah.
I'm curious, what do you feel led you to drinking?
I was a daily drinker by the time I was 12 years old. I started drinking with my father. Started drinking beer with my dad and wine. There was always wine at the dinner table. And so as you were old enough to drink out of a glass, you were old enough to drink wine. And that's how it went in that house. And so, so by the time I was 12, I was a daily drinker with my dad. That was something very important when I was 12 years old. If you don't get sober, you don't get hungover. And for the next 30 years, I didn't get sober.
Wow. But it wasn't like you were, like for me, I believe I drank because of being gay and being in my world, it wasn't accepted. The church denounced anyone who was gay. So to hide those feelings, to hide who I was, is, I believe, why I started. Also to fit in. I was a very shy person, so it helped me loosen up, all of those things. And I wasn't really a daily drinker for most of my drinking career, if you will. It was binge type drinking until the later years when it became a daily thing.
Yeah, I was a daily drunk by the time I was 12. I was doing blackout drinking by the time I was 12. Wow. By the time I was 14, I was using other drugs, hallucinogens mostly, but a fair amount of speed with it.
There was speed back then?
Oh, yeah. Cross tops. They were wonderful.
Wow.
And the big carts, boy, those are great stuff.
So that is some crazy shit.
I remember cross tops. I remember
Yellow Jackets.
And then another one I believe was called the Black Beauties or something like that. Yeah.
I remember those too.
Yeah. That's what I
just
grew up
remember
with.
I would go like this and my head would be numb. Yeah.
Tingly. Yeah.
Take too much vitamin B12, you can get there as well. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So were you around when meth was formulated?
No, I'd quit using by then.
Wow.
So I missed the whole meth scene.
The other question that comes to mind for me is when I was being gay and I grew up my gay self on Capitol Hill in Seattle. And how you socialized was bar. Everything had surrounded a bar, which was drinking. So how was it for you? Did the meetings take the place of the bars, or would you still go to bars, but just...
No, by the end of my career, I was a long drinker. Like I said, I wasn't welcome anywhere. I wasn't welcome at the bars. They kicked my ass out.
Okay.
They got tired of my nasty self and said, you can't come here anymore.
Yeah, and that's what happened. I became a nasty person the more I drank.
They weren't wide open arms. They weren't like AA. And
then when you got sober, that your social life then was the meetings that kind of took the place of what you would have...
That and the Portland Gay Men's Course. Portland Gay Men's Course was a large part of my support system.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah, expand on that a little bit. I'm curious.
There were a lot of men in recovery in the course, and we helped support one another a lot, as well as the fact that so many of us had been diagnosed so early on that we also supported each other through that, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We had an incredible conductor, David York, conducted us for over 12 years. David was an amazing human being.
I know David.
David's an amazing human being. He taught us how to grow up. He taught us how to be compassionate. He taught us how to sing very well. Yeah, he was an amazing man the way he handled the course with 101 men dying on him. And he kept us all together and kept us all producing good music.
Yeah.
And very famous.
Mm-hmm,
the Gay Men's Course is
yeah.
Wicked
famous.
It was big in Seattle when I was in the community as well. And we did little promotions for him and things. I never did drag, but I dressed up as several different characters. I was a lot slender.
Well, and it's still big
I used
here.
to do a mean Tin Man and a mean Pee Wee Herman. And then I had my drag queen friends, and they'd be Bette Midler and Diana Ross, and we'd all go out there and promote the choir on the streets and hand out flyers. And it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to do that.
Right.
Are you still in touch with the Gay Men's Course?
Yeah.
That's like an alma mater. I
haven't sung for the course now for 12 years, but I'm still doing some behind the scenes work with them.
I love it because we always talk about here, it's true for me, right? When you get sober, you need a foundation. And that sounds like it was part of yours. We talk about it all the time. It could be different. Everybody's program is their own, but something that you feel you belong to and that you can count on.
Right.
For me, it was you guys. Right. And that foundation is so important. We do Colette, who's on our board, Colette. She does a Tuesday night meeting at Another Chance Treatment Center. And it's to bridge them to AA or whatnot. We let them just talk and ask questions and stuff and trying to set up a foundation for them. And that sounds like it was part of your foundation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Our house, too.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like a triple threat. AA, our house, the Gay Men's Chorus. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. And then I have my basis covered spiritually through the Peace House.
The what?
The Peace House. Because that was the home of the Illinois Peace Community United Methodist Church. It was housed at the Peace House.
I didn't know that.
And I went there for years and years because the preacher there, John, absolutely was open to anything and everybody. And he preached that way. And he lived that way. And he was one of the few Christians that I knew that was actually living like a Christian. And I respected that a lot. And so when he invited me to join the church, I did. I also became part of the board of trustees and things like that. But
you've done so much.
Yeah, that was definitely a part of my foundation as well.
I love it.
Now, is the Peace House still around? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still go there 6 days a week.
Okay. I have to look that up because I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah.
It's great. Like I said, what great foundations. If everybody in the world, which I know it's a dream and a wish, right? But if people would just judge people, I judge people, right? It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. If you're kind to me, I'm kind to you. If you want to be a bitch to me, I might look the other way or I might be a bitch back. And it doesn't, like the other elements of that are non-relevant. Yeah. I will tell you most of the time I receive kindness, so I don't have to be that person. But it has happened to me. Wow. So for our listeners, right? First of all, shout out to Al again. Like, God, I didn't even know that. I didn't, because Al, when he was with James, he wasn't at MCC. He didn't come back until Sunnyside. So I didn't know Al until 2019. So that's crazy. But is there anything that you want to say on a personal note to our listeners?
Other than the fact that about 6 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with colon cancer, which I decided not to treat.
So did my first sponsor.
Yeah, they were successful at getting the large mass in the inside wall of my colon, but I also had a hot cancer spot on the outside wall of my colon, which they couldn't get from doing the same surgery. They had to do another whole surgery, and I wasn't strong enough to do second surgery at that point, and I wouldn't have anyway. So then they said, well, if you don't do surgery, you can always do chemo and radiation. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. AIDS and chemo and radiation don't mix well at all. I've seen it over and over again. I'm not going to walk down that street.
Yeah.
So my first sponsor, same disease, and he chose not to get treatment at all. He didn't get it until 80 something. He lived till 99.
Mm-hmm.
And he used female hormones because it slowed down the process.
Right.
Oh,
And when I was going through menopause, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm having a hot flash. And he'd be like, let me get a piece of candy and I'll have one with you, because sugar brought on the hot flashes. But it did very well for him. He stayed together for longer.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, the same thing. She refused treatment. She was stage 4, and she was very pretty when she died still. She went and got a haircut, got her nails done. And I respect that so much.
I've had a wonderfully rich life.
Yeah.
And I just refuse to end it that way.
Amen.
I want quality of life, not quantity of life. Because I've had so much quality of life in my life that
You have.
who would want to end it the other way? Not me.
Oh, I agree with you. And I have to tell you, bless you, Megan, that getting you here, putting this all on the podcast is such a legacy.
Yeah.
We'll have you forever. You'll be international.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your story will be heard again and again. And to me, what a thing, right? When Larry went on the podcast, he said, what the fuck was a podcast, right? And he drove up, he didn't know. And he drove up from Corvallis. And Al, he was at the rehab, right? And I was like, do you want to listen to the podcast? And I hooked it up on his phone. You sound sexier on the podcast. And I was like, and it kept him company. So what a great thing.
Yeah.
What a great inspiration to people.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting a little emotional.
I said this a couple episodes back, but I have to pinch myself that I'm here doing this in my living room, talking to these people, letting them share their stories, being so intimate and open about your life.
We've had some really good ones lately too.
It's a dream. It really is a dream.
And I want to tell you, for me, this has been some of the hardest 2 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But did God want me here being able to spend the time with you instead of a big fancy job? I've always had such a good job in AA, and I think it diverted me from a lot of growth sometimes because I was running a company, but this shit has been priceless.
Yeah.
And if I went tomorrow, I would exactly want to be here today. And who can say that?
Yeah.
I've started working on an autobiography. And at this point, I have 24 90-minute cassette tapes that have my oral autobiography on it. And I'm not being able to get it down into my computer. And so this is like being my version of my oral autobiography, because I'm not going to be able to finish it any other way, I don't think.
I might know some technical people.
So this is giving me the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. And what we've set out to do was to provide a platform to show people the stories and how you can go from wherever they're at in their addiction to recovery. and that there's hope and that
recovery.
Yeah. And
like,
no matter what, and that it can be as attractive, if in fact more attractive in my view, than when I was drinking and what that didn't provide me, to be honest. What I thought it was providing me, but didn't, right? Julie said this before, make your recovery as attractive in your life and you'll keep wanting to go back and continue.
My recovery is so much more attractive than my using days.
I had a little bit over $250,000 in the bank. I trusted no one. I would let no one come to my house. And I was the unhappiest. I trusted no one in this world. You can say that, not even no one. Okay. And it was the same when I got out of prison.
Right.
I saw how many people made money off of me and how they vanished. And and it wasn't until I went to that meeting, Darrell, that I even began to trust one person. And it was you and Fred and Pat O.D. and Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think that I would be here today or have lived my life the right way had I not gone there. And I was scared of going back.
Mm-hmm.
I just went there for 6 months to get off parole. And I stayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
I'm
you,
so
God.
lucky.
Thank you, God.
Yeah. Amen, huh? Else we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Thank you so much for making the trek over here and sharing yourself and your stories with us. There's no amount of appreciation I can express verbally. This means so much to me.
It's priceless.
Like I said, it's really gratifying for me as well. This may be as close as I get to doing the autobiography.
This is an autobiography in a way.
Yeah, it is.
It's the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's amazing. Like, really amazing.
Yeah. I had the absolute privilege of watching these two kids grow up. And they got along really well. See, Heidi is 7 years older than Jeff. So she was old enough to want babysitting a little bit.
Right.
What a miracle. What a blessing.
Jackie and her partner and my partner and I raised the kids.
Wow, that's
together.
So cool.
About 28 and a half acres out just north and east of Ridgefield. And that's where we raised the kids. It was really amusing. We didn't realize it at the time, but we settled right in the middle of Seventh-day Adventist country.
Oh, wow.
We were surrounded by them. They were all our neighbors.
They're kind people, though.
Yeah, they are.
Mm-hmm. They really are. Wow. Thank you for your time.
Thank you again so much for being here. And thanks everyone for listening. Peter and Julie and Darrell and Megan for
making it all happen.
Yeah, making it all happen. This is the Real Recovery Podcast. Thanks for listening.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks to each and every one of you for lending us your ears and hearts. Your engagement is what fuels our passion and keeps this podcast thriving.
We cherish the moments we share here and hope they resonate with you, whether you're on a daily commute, at the gym, or just taking a moment for yourself.
Make sure to head over to our website at realrecoverypodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to our newsletter for the latest insights and uplifting stories from our community delivered straight to your inbox.
Click that subscribe button on your favorite podcast player too, so you can keep up with every new episode. It's your support that keeps our conversation alive and meaningful.
And if our stories have touched you, consider using the donate button on our site. Your contributions, no matter the size, are deeply appreciated. They help us continue our mission of sharing hope and healing.
Join us beyond the podcast and follow our journey on social media. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and on X, formerly known as Twitter. All the links are on our site, so you can stay connected and be a part of the Real Recovery community every day.
Your likes, shares, and comments not only spread the message of recovery, but also remind us that we're all in this together.
So, until we meet again, remember that recovery is a journey, not a destination, and we'll be here to accompany you every step of the way to recovery, real recovery.
Thanks for listening.